This is Felipe Luciano reporting from Long Beach, discussing the Fania AllStars in Africa. The trip to Africa started very simply. Jerry Masucci asked me would I mind going to Africa with the Fania AllStars. My program was the most popular at that time. We were in the mid-70s. And I thought, why not? I've never been to the homeland. I've always identified as an African Puerto Rican. It would be interesting to go to Africa to see whether the rhythms were the same. We talk about it all the time, but I wanted to hear Congolese rhythms. Now, I already knew that Puerto Ricans, as a group, have a DNA in them from Africa that basically comes from the Congo. So, what better way to investigate this than to go there myself with all the Fania AllStars? That included Johnny Pacheco, Celia Cruz, Santos Colon, Cheo Feliciano, Hector Lavoe, Willie Colon, Victor Paz, all of us, Ray Barreto. It was wonderful. Manu Dibango. On the plane, we had probably the greatest congregation or aggregation of American artists. We had Bill Withers, we had Etta James, we had the Spinners, we had James Brown. It was wonderful. The day comes, we all go to the airport. Of course, Hector is late. James Brown is on time, but he's all the way in the front and refuses to deal with us. We were in the back creating noise like you wouldn't believe. Celia was happy, Pedro was happy, her husband, Pedro Knight, and we were doing rumbas in the back. Now, you know how Puerto Ricans and Cubans are and Dominicans. When we get together, forget about it. The plane rocks. James refused to look at us. He would sit in the back. He had his pompadour and the bandana around his pompadour and his process. Well, he stayed like that, refused to turn around. Could you imagine all this African music happening behind him and he refused to turn around? We called him stuck up. He just refused. We said it in Spanish, of course. And so we partied. Celia partied so hard, she almost fell back in her seat. Pedro, a little tipsy. She was mad at him, by the way, because he was not being proper. Celia was always a very proper black woman. We had a ball. When we get to Kinshasa, we land on the tarmac. It has to be 110 degrees. They put the ladder to the airplane. They opened the door. We could feel the heat from the outside. James Brown ran to the front and put his arms up like that. Right? He had taken off his bandana. His process was perfectly coiffed. And he said, "My people!" And his hair fell flat, flop, on his face. We fell on the floor. Johnny Pacheco laughed so hard he almost peed on himself. We laughed for about half an hour. He looked like an Afghan because his hair was all flat. You know what the heat does to nappy hair when you press it?